I play the blues in the city with mud on my boots. I don't have time to waste, y'all. I got to work in farm blues. My hands are in the room at the fluffy butt end. Them other damn roosters are trying to get it in. Them horny old hens are gonna be the death of me. The roosters always find a way to do their damn thing. I play the blues in the city with mud on.
Hey everybody, Tommy Norman here with the Nashville Blues and Roots Alliance. Got a great interview today with the International Blues Challenge winners from 2024 that Nashville sent down to Memphis. Piper and the Hard Times went down to Memphis, won the whole dang thing. We're so proud of them, and so I've got the founding members, got Al, Steve, and Dave, who are going to talk to us about their start in Nashville and how this 20-year journey to getting down and becoming the International Blues Challenge winners, how that went. It's a really great conversation. Also, if you're watching this, I hope you're a member of the Blues and Roots Alliance. So go to bluesandroots.org and make sure you sign up. You become an annual member for just $25, and that supports things like our Blues in Schools. It supports things like these interviews. Also, for sending the expenses for sending everyone down to the International Blues Challenge, we like to cover as much of that as possible for our competing acts, and holding those events where we choose our blues challengers, which is coming up for 2025. We're going to start having those shows over the summer, so submissions will come out soon. So sign up and you'll get notifications for that as well. It all goes to supporting the blues community, which is great for all the fans and all the artists and all the venues that support this music. And with that, let's hear from Piper and the Hard Times.
See, I got a lot of tickets, and I even been thrown in jail. But don't y'all worry about a damn thing, because I make bail. Well, I'm a trouble man, baby. That's all I heard all my life. Some people making trouble. It could lead to good.
All right, thanks guys for being here. I'm here with Piper and the Hard Times, or at least a portion of Piper and the Hard Times, the core group, Dave, Steve, and Piper. So as we get started, let's do a real quick, just go around your name and what you do in the group. So Steve, let's start with you.
Okay, I'm Steve, and I play guitar, and I write songs for this band.
And some background vocals. You know, some background vocals.
I do some background vocals. That's way down on the list, but yeah.
And a lead here and there. I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen it happen.
I try. Yeah.
Sure.
When Al lets me play guitar, other than that,
All right, Dave.
Yeah, I'm Dave Colella, and I am a drummer. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less.
No, he is sexy boy.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
There you go. The face man. And Al.
My name is Al Piper Green. I'm the lead vocalist of the band, and I actually write the material as well. So Steve and I, we co-write together. And just so everybody knows, before this interview gets any further, Steve is the conductor. Dave is Mr. Sexy Boy himself. I'm just Piper. So there you go.
We're all about nicknames.
And then there are some other people in the band, obviously, but I know you guys have been kind of the core part for many, many years. But let's give a little shout out to the band that was with you that won the IBC. So shout out to the other members of the band.
Yeah, we're joined regularly by Amy Frederick on keys, who Piper has dubbed the professor, and Parker Hawkins on bass, and he is PH Funk Stick, properly known as.
There you go. Yeah, man.
And then Teddy Jones.
We had Teddy Jones with us at in Memphis.
Thank you. Yeah, and
And we'll get to the IBCs. I know we'll talk a lot about the IBCs, but since we are the Nashville Blues and Roots Alliance, let's start with the blues and then we'll get into Nashville. So let's go around the horn and talk about, what got you started in music? What kind of, what inspired you? What did you pick up first? And then more specifically, when you got into music, what kind of attracted you into the blues? What drew you in there? So let's go the other way this time. Piper, let's start with you.
Well, music, period, it started with me ever since I was a little boy. I always wanted to do music. Obviously, I sung in church. My mom was very big into that. My mom and her family um, singing in church or what have you and everything. So as I was growing up as a teenager, what have you, so I sung in the choir. But in reality, I just knew back then, man, I wanted to do music. And what really got me into the blues was my family, my parents listened to everything. It just wasn't blues. They listened to all types of music. But I have to say, my dad was a stickler. My dad, he stuck to his guns. He was a true blues man. He loved it. And my uncle, I never forget it. My uncle coming down from Chicago every year during the holidays, and he comes to my grandmother and grandfather's home, and out in the country, and we sat outside in the back, and I was a little boy listening off the edge of the corner of the house, man. And they be sitting out back just playing this guitar and this microphone, man, playing the blues, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. I there you go, all in a nutshell for me.
What were some of your earlier influences in the blues genre?
Oh my God. Woo. Oh man. BB King for sure. Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Willie Dixon, man, oh gosh, Elvis Presley, um, oh wow, oh gosh, O.V. Wright, oh my, O.V. Wright, yes, the list. I mean, I got a broad spectrum. I mean, my list is long, man, but all those cats I listen to, man, every day, all day, yeah.
Right. And for my own curiosity, so you said you were a young man singing in the choir. As a young man, did you have this voice, or that voice kind of grow? Did you grow into that voice? Were you?
I think that voice grew. And the crazy thing about it is I was scared to sing. I'd be nervous as all get out, man. I remember being a little boy and uh, my pianist at church wanted me to. He picked a song out for me to be a lead singer at church during church, and I was just all nervous, man. And I mean, I sung. I remember that morning I sung. I think it was close to Easter, and I sung, and it was all loud, off key, everything. I'm telling you, man, I was. I think the name of the song was called. Well, anyway, I can't think of it now. They'll come back to me. But anyway, back to the point. I did, my very first song was in church, and it was something else. I don't know. I started there, and people looked at me and told me, "Al, you probably shouldn't sing anymore." I'm telling you, because I was just totally off key, but I knew this is what I wanted to do, and I kept with it, and got a chance to sing in the choir, and it all happened from there, and here I am today.
And at what point did you, obviously we all kind of start at different places and you kind of learn how to sing on key and you find your register and you find what you like to sing. At what point were you doing it and you went, all right, I'm good at this. I can do this. This can be a thing I do that's not just a hobby or a church thing. This could be a livelihood.
Well, when I knew that someone had a decent voice was when, from a couple of family members, saying, Al, you can really sing when you really try. Now, as far as when I really felt like I could really do this, well, I have to be honest. Just recently, tell you the truth, just recently, man. Dave, Steve, they all give me my blessings, and tell me how good I am and everything, and tell me I take it all. I should never take it for granted or whatever. I really have something, man, and Dave will tell you, man. It's not like I just try to stay in my lane and do what I love to do and all about it. But to hear you even tell me says, Al, thank you and all the blessings you have given me and kind words, man. Um, when we won the IBCs and I'll tell you what, when Steve looked up at me and said, I really want to give this a shot. I really think we have something way before the IBCs came in involved. And he really wanted to take this thing to the next level. And I looked at Steve, I said, do you really think we could truly do this? He says, Al, I, I totally believe that we can make this happen. Man, and he started talking about me again. And so here we are. Yeah. I started believing in it. And truth be told, I think things really turned around when I really started believing to the fact that, Al, I know the band got it. I know the band got it, man. My band is phenomenal. I'm telling you, I know this. But when it came back to me, I was always doubting myself that says, man, there's something better. You can do better. I don't know if you're ready for this. Are you sure? Blah, 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 blah. But deep down in my heart now, man, I really feel like I'm ready. I really feel like I got this. I really feel like I can do this. And I'm 120% good about it, saying that I can do this. I mean, and I'm ready. Yeah.
And I think there's a song on that, then a new song on the album that kind of speaks to that. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But let's leapfrog over to Dave. So Dave, what about you? What got you into music? What, were your early influences?
I was, that kind of textbook kid that just wanted to play drums. I just was, hitting stuff, spoons and like, it's goofy, but spoons and pans and all that. So my parents said, if you want to play drums, you got to take lessons. And I said, okay, whatever I got to do. And they said, well, if you take lessons for a year, we'll get you a drum. You got to practice, the teacher told, I guess we had a consultation. They said, well, start on the practice pad. And they said, all right, it's pad for a year. If you're still interested at the end of the year, we'll get you a drum. And I was like, yeah, I'm all in, whatever's got to happen here. So I did my year, and then I got my snare drum, and then it was a cymbal. And then I think maybe about a year later, my grandparents made the whole drum set happen. And it was, it was on from there.
I mean, practice pad for a year, that's a long time to just be on the pad.
Yeah, but like I said, man, I didn't care. Like whatever it took, I was going to do it. And I still like hitting the practice pad. So I guess there's something there.
Giving Steve a one-string guitar. You get one string. In 6 years, you'll have a whole guitar.
Yeah.
So who do you remember kind of seeing a drummer that you saw that you went, damn, that's what I want to do?
That's a good question. I actually got to see Buddy early on. I think I was I was already taking lessons. And my grandmother took my brother and I to see Buddy at a small theater near where we lived in New Jersey. And, I don't remember too much about the show, but I remember it being, pretty mind blowing.
But this is Buddy Rich and his orchestra.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. He was, playing, the Paper Mill Playhouse in Millburn, New Jersey. And my little grandma took my brother and I, and, yeah, that was pretty cool. I was probably a 6th grader, and I started my lessons in 3rd, so it was pretty early on.
I remember, my dad had a much different, influence of music than I did. Like he liked Engelbert Humperdinck and stuff like that. Like, we did not jive. And I remember showing him something like, I think I showed him like John Bonham, and he's like, let me show you a drummer. And he showed me Buddy Rich. And I'm like, well, that's pretty cool too. I mean, I like both of those things, but I remember, he was big into swing bands, and some of those swing guys,
oh yeah, monsters.
Those are crazy guys. So
my first guy was Ringo. I mean, if you want to go there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, as soon as I heard the Beatles, I was just like all in, and I was just all about Ringo Starr and Charlie Watts. I was probably the first two.
Right. And is there particularly, in the blues area, anybody that kind of struck out to you, or any kind of a sound that you're like, that's kind of what I want to get into. That's how I would like as a drummer, obviously, you can play anything, but what does a blues drummer mean to you?
Well, for me, I got playing with some guys in the band pretty early on, which was great. When I was like a seventh grader, I joined this band, and that band kind of morphed a little bit, but essentially remained the same band that I moved to Nashville with, a long time later. But we would, in addition to like working on our songs and playing a bunch of cover songs, rock covers and stuff, we were really into the blues. And so we would just jam for a long time on just 1-4-5s, if it's like slow blues or like a kind of mid-tempo groovy thing. And we knew that there was something to that, to just, being able to play something that was meaningful and interesting and emotionally charged, within that little context. Even as teenagers, we just knew that somehow. And so we did it a lot. And so we were listening, in addition to like all the rock stuff that we were listening to, and we were into jazz too. But it was like Buddy Guy and Albert King and Albert Collins and Stevie Ray. It's kind of like the ones and BB, of course. But then when I got a little older, like probably 18, 19, I got really into New Orleans music. And so I started listening to Meters and Neville Brothers and Dr. John and Professor Longhair and all that stuff. And then and Little Feat, so like Richie Hayward will forever be one of my heroes. So I really got into like that whole funky, swampy kind of stuff. And that's, kind of where my heart still lives, I guess.
Right. Because I mean, a lot of times people almost think of blues drumming as very, very rudimentary, like there's not a lot to it. But I know when I see you guys, you've got, like, I could definitely hear that Meters influence. Every time that little cowbell comes out there. But a lot of like, I know when I started having real good respect for drummers, I always look at hi-hat work, like really subtle, good high, like especially somebody who could take a trap set. And I think, like when I hear you talk about how long you sat with a practice pad and a snare and then that, I think that's, how you get some of those guys who can make so much out of just very little, or like Nate. Nate Smith is like a crazy with that.
Who's
stuff.
that?
Nate Smith, and just,
incredible.
Three things.
Yeah, killing it. And I like that too. I never wanted a lot of drums. I mean, in addition to like not having them and, not wanting to move them and set them up, I just it just was never my thing. Like, a couple times I used to play 5-piece. Now I like a 4-piece, and 2 cymbals. It's all you need. That's all I need.
Right.
That's all Ringo had. It was enough for him.
There you go. Absolutely. All right, Steve, let's talk about you. What got you into music, your early influences? What kind of got you into the blues?
With me growing up, my parents, were, I am just lucky to have these two amazing, my mom and dad are incredible people, and they instilled in all of us, they wanted us to be very well-rounded kids as we were growing up. So one of the things that my brother and sister, I'm the oldest of 3, we had to pick a musical instrument when we were around 11 or 12 and a sport, and we had to pursue both. And all they wanted us to do was try and be committed and so forth. And with me, it was without a doubt. I remember watching, I grew up in Northern Ohio, and we used to, I don't know, I'm going to really date myself with this show, but there was a show that used to come on late at night called The Midnight Hour, or The Midnight Special. I think it was the Midnight Special. And I specifically remember watching Bad Company and Bob Seger and just all these classic rock bands, when I was like 10 or 11, 12 years old. And just being so drawn into the way the guitar, was cool. It just, it stood out. There was the lead singer, and then the guitar player always supported the band, and just thinking, man, I think I would like to play guitar. And so that was the instrument I chose. We won't talk about the sports thing because I was terrible at it compared to my brother. But yeah, man, my parents, when I chose the guitar, they said, like Dave said, they wanted me to take lessons and not just figure it out on my own. So they paid for lessons, and I started out playing classical guitar for like the first year and a half, and I didn't have an electric. And then I got my first electric. And then, specifically, like there are certain times in my life like that are just so etched in my memory. And I was over at my grandmother's house, and my aunt, who's about 10 years older than me, um, had a great record collection. And I was doing my grandmother used to have me come over and do chores, and I was rooting through my aunt's record collection, and I see this album with this blimp on it, like the Hindenburg crashing. And I was like, man, I wonder what that is, and because my exposure to music was Elvis. My mom had Joni Mitchell records and stuff like that. And I saw this album with the blimp burning on it. And I thought, I wonder what this is. Some band called Led Zeppelin. Never heard of them. Put it on, Communication Breakdown comes on. And I just was like, should I hate this? With the screaming and the loud, and I was just immediately just captivated by it and sat there and listened to the whole record, and that was it. And then I had to go get an electric guitar, and it was all over from there, And then my mom will tell stories that when I was in high school, I got so knee deep into it. I mean, waist deep or whatever, that my friends would come over when I was in high school, and they would want to go out and go drinking and partying and stuff like that. And I would always be like, nope, I'm staying home on a Friday and Saturday night. And I'd be up in my room with the turntable, with the cassette deck, learning songs and playing. And I had more fun doing that than I did going out with my friends. And so, that's kind of the start of it. I just absorbed everything, but I really got into it first, the whole fusion thing, like Alan Holdsworth. I became a Steve Howe fanatic. Those were some of the early guys. Like the blues thing really didn't grab me until like 84, when I think it was 84, 83, when Stevie Ray's first record came out. And man, talk about a life-changing moment. That was another one. And then the blues really hit me when I went to college, and I was playing in a progressive rock cover band, and we were covering Yes and Genesis and U2 and stuff that was, very guitar focused. And I was pretty flashy back then. I could play fast and all over the neck and everything. And a guy came out and saw me play one night, who was a local guitar legend in Athens, Ohio, where I went to college. And he just said, hey, you're a good player. I want you to come see me. He owned a record store, and I want you to come see me tomorrow. And this was like a Friday night. Saturday, I go into his record store, and he pulled me aside and he said, man, you got a lot of skill. You got the ability, but you're playing too many notes. You're playing too fast. And he said, I'm going to give you 2 records. And he handed me Muddy Waters, Fathers and Sons, which was a live record, double live album with Mike Bloomfield playing guitar. And then he handed me B.B. King's Live at the Regal. And he said, take these home and listen to them over the weekend, and then come back and he gave lessons. And man, that was it. I mean, that was absolutely like a defining moment in my life, like listening to those 2 records and hearing the minimalistic approach, the tastefulness, the tone, the simple songwriting. I mean, just the ability to, like Dave said, play a 1-4-5 groove and have it mean something, and I got it. And man, so that's it. I mean, I've had so many different influences. I absorbed so many different players in my style. So, but.
Well, and it's like, it's funny because when you talk about like that mentor who brought you in there, one of my favorite movies, and it's a cheesy ass movie, but I love it, is Crossroads, the one with Ralph Macchio and Steve Vai and all that stuff. Yeah. I remember watching that because I was a big metalhead. It's, when I first got into it, and, and I watched that because I heard Steve Vai was in it. And then I hear that, and I'm like, well, that's not Steve Vai playing that. Who is that? And somebody said, that's Ry Cooder. And I'm like, who the hell's Ry Cooder? And then I find out, and I started listening to metalheads, and then they said, well, I'm just playing BB King licks all sped up, or I'm playing this, and I okay. And I went and listened to those guys. And then those guys said, well, we're playing, Robert Johnson. And I went all the way back and had to come back forward again. And about that time is when Steve Ray Vaughan was kind of coming out, and that's kind of like, you got to see that full thing. But I was thinking when you were talking about that, it's like, you're a lightning boy. You got a little bit of lightning, but you got no mileage.
Yeah. 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 I mean,
a lot.
I still, like when we play gigs and, whether it's Al's wife that's filming some of our shows or some of our friends will post things, I still hear myself, and sometimes I get down on myself. I'm like, damn it, Steve, you're playing too, you could have pulled back a little bit here, but you just get caught up in the moment. And, when you have, I guess, the facility to do it, sometimes it creeps back in, but I'm always struggling and fighting that urge to, but then that's where I kind of think of like this, that's what this band does. I think of this band as like the way Jimmy Page approached guitar. Jimmy was always living on the edge. Jeff Beck is another huge influence of mine, always living on the edge, and taking chances. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't,
Right.
but with this band, we always push that, that's why I love playing with Dave and Al and like Amy and Parker and who we have is that we improvise so much that pushes the boundaries a little bit here and there.
Right.
So
All right. Well, let's do a quick round also of what got you to Nashville. So, you said you were in Ohio, and what gets you here?
well, I was living in Ohio. I took a job as a band leader for an up and coming country rock artist in Virginia Beach. So I went down and auditioned. I drove from Columbus to Virginia Beach, auditioned for this role, went back to Columbus, and a month later, the guy picked me to come down and be his guitar player, songwriter, and band leader. And then I just quit my job and moved to Virginia Beach. And at that time, I was engaged to my wife, Ellen, and she followed me down. And so I played around there. That fizzled out real fast. And then I put a blues band together. We played the Mid-Atlantic for a couple of years. And I thought, man, I'm not getting any older. And I thought I need to take a chance. And what's that?
You said I'm not getting any older. You are
Right.
I'm not getting any younger.
And not getting any, yeah. Not there you go. Thank you, Dave. That's second glass of bourbon tonight. No, yeah. And so my wife and I came to Nashville and visited for a few days, and man, we fell in love with it. And, a few months later, sold our house in Virginia Beach and moved.
Nice.
So,
Dave, how did you wind up here?
I wound up here with the band I was speaking of earlier. We kept that band through high school. Took a year off when we kind of went different directions early on in college, and then eventually everybody moved back to New Jersey, New York area. We played through college, and then we were, the short story is we were basically like too rootsy and kind of vocal oriented for what was happening in New York at the time, which was like a lot of jam bands, and it was like the blues Traveler Spin Doctors era, like the jam kind of thing. And we weren't that at all. The band was kind of like a, lack of a better reference, sort of like an Eagles-ish kind of thing, with a lot of rootsy, with a lot of harmonies and stuff. And everybody kept saying, you guys need to go to Nashville, man. There's nothing in New York for you, and we played for a few industry people, and they said the same thing, like, you guys should go to Nashville. It's probably right for what you're doing. So that was 94. We ended up coming down, and of course we had a musician artist that we knew from New Jersey that was here and had an artist deal for some years, and he knew Joe Galante and Scott Hendricks and some of those other big dudes at the majors on Music Row at the time. And we played like 3 or 4 showcases for them, and they were all like, well, you guys are really good, but you're not a country band, so there's nothing we can do with it. So it was just kind of like we were just in this no man's land musically. But that's how I ended up here with that band, and my wife. We had just gotten married before we hit the van and came down here. So most of the guys in that band stayed in town, and I met Steve and Al probably a few years after that. 99, I think we met. The first incarnation of this band. So it was this project was like kind of a very the timing on it for me was great, and at the time it was like something I was really excited about, because I had been in that band for years, and we were great, and they were like my brothers, but we were all really burnt, and it was definitely time to move on. And this was one of the things that I started doing at that time, and it was really fun and exciting.
So the only reason you played with this band, you had nothing better to do? Is
That's
that
right.
Pretty much. I was on the rebound, man. It was a rebound game.
Rebound. Yeah. Nothing better than rebound music, right?
And Al, you're from Bolivar, because we've already discussed this,
Yes,
because
sir.
1989, the Dixon County Cougars, smeared you guys. We came down there, and
We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that.
Tommy, you're a Nashville guy?
I'm born in Nashville, but I was raised in Dixon County, or just a little bit outside, but all my family's from here. So yeah, I am one of the unicorns of, this is where I'm at. But tell me,
Parker.
Yeah, that's true, Parker as well. So Al, tell me about Bolivar and being around, because you've been around Middle Tennessee for a while.
Yeah, I mean, as far as home and everything, and the music and stuff, we talked about that. But, I grew up also playing saxophone, and I played saxophone through all school and stuff like that. And I thought I was gonna do that, like, out of school, maybe, link up and do some, get in a band or something like that. But that didn't happen. Didn't pursue it. Well, kind of pursued it a little bit with a good friend of mine. We started it, but I was going to sing and try to play sax at the same time, and that didn't work. So we just basically kind of just him and I. He played guitar. Name's Kirk Bentley, and I just started singing. We did stuff like Prince and the stuff like that.
And is this in Bolivar,
old school blues.
are you coming to Nashville?
Yeah, this was in Bolivar.
Okay.
This is in Bolivar. We did a talent show and stuff like that. Now, what really brought me to Nashville had nothing to do with music, brother. I moved to Nashville to get in the car business. I wanted to sell cars, and that's what I did. I got in the car business, and I was a single man with nothing else to do with my time at that point in time. So I started hanging out a little bit, and somehow or another I ended up at Bourbon Street in Prentice Alley by myself. And I was known to be hanging by myself. I really didn't hang with a bunch of people or nothing like that. So this particular time, I was in the car business, and one night I had nothing else to do. So I drove down to Nashville and I got at Bourbon Street Blues and Boogie Bar. Got a chance to see Blues You Can Use, which is Stacey Mitchell. Shout out to Blues You Can Use. And that's how I met Steve Eagon. I met Steve Eagon that night. The very first night I walked into Bourbon Street, if I'm not mistaken, I met Steve Eagon the same night. So there you go.
I didn't know it the first time you were there. That's great.
What kind of cars did you sell?
Between the first and the second. Huh?
What kind of cars did you sell?
I was at that point in time, I was working for Mitsubishi.
Okay.
Hayes Mitsubishi out in Rivergate at that time.
All right. So now we've got you all here, and you have met each other. The core band starts, and how does that start? I mean, who says, "Hey, we should do a thing"?
That's all Steve Eagon.
Yeah, I think Steve did it. And it was via another artist. There was an Americana type, very good singer named Doug Powell. That was the connection, the link between Steve and myself. He had met Al, and I had met Doug, and then am I correct about this, Steve? And then you were
I think so. Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah. And then Steve's very he's very industrious. When Steve gets after something, man, as you've seen with this band, it's gonna happen. So he was like, man, he's like, I guess he had met Al, our man Piper here. And he was like, well, dude, he's like, I got a drummer and a bass player for you. So let's do this. And I mean, I think I know that first record, is 99. And I can't imagine it was much before that we met. So I think, probably inside of 6 months, we had made a quick record.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I can tell you that
it happened fast.
The first time we used to live over by the zoo in Paragon Mills neighborhood, and I had a practice space in the basement over there. And I know the first gig we played was over at Springwater. It was like a kind of a multi-artist night or something. I think we did like 2 or 3 songs. And so we rehearsed in my basement, and I remember just and I tell Al to remind him this all the time. Like, I just knew, I was like, this guy's a star. Like this guy's got the thing. Like, it's just apparent. Like, it didn't fit in my basement. I was like, knew it was going to be much bigger than that. I really felt that. And it just started working right away. It really did,
And was it kind of the bluesy stuff that it's doing now, or was it something different and morphed into that?
Yeah, no, it's a lot of the same songs. I mean, we were playing like half the first record still, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Tommy,
now
amazing. It's great.
Yeah.
When we first got together, when I moved here, I wrote most of the songs from my old blues band in Virginia Beach. So I brought a lot of that stuff with me. And that's, I think, where we started, was playing a lot of the stuff that I had written plus covers. And then Al and I, started hitting it off like,
and does, and I don't know what the previous singer was like, but Al has a very distinct voice and a very distinct, persona in that. Does that then start affecting of now, oh man, this would be a great song for Al?
Well, to be clear, there was no earlier singer. That was a totally different project.
Yeah.
Right. But when you've been writing songs for this other band, and now you come into you form this, and do you then start writing songs for kind of the persona and the feel of this new band and this new singer?
Absolutely, 100%. I still do that. I mean, Al knows it. I mean, we like to collaborate and write together. I come up with the music, and a lot of times Al will have the words, or we'll co-write the words together. But there are times if I'm writing the whole song, I'm definitely got him in mind.
Right.
And I try to write knowing, is he going to be able to deliver it? How's he going to deliver it? And he's got to sing it like he feels it in his heart too. So so he and I, there's a lot of similarities. I mean, the three of us have been such close friends for 25 years that, we just know what it takes. We know what a Piper and the Hard Time song is,
So 1999, get together, very quickly form, got an album out. How do we get to, last year, going into the IBCs? What's that? Obviously there's some highs and lows and things like that. What is that? Can you give me a synopsis of that 20-year span of gets us to today, and we'll start talking about the IBC.
Yeah, can we do a Cliff Notes version?
And yeah, we had a hiatus, and I always try to mention that because it always seems to me it's like, well, people would hear, well, if you've been together 20 years, like, why are we just hearing about you now? That'd be a little odd, right? But the reality is that, I don't know, we were probably off for 8 years, something like that. I mean, there was a big,
I don't even know.
Yeah, we kind of have all lost track.
I don't know if
there was a big break in the middle.
8 years. I don't know if it went that long. I at least say I would give it 3 to 5, because I don't think I stopped playing. I think I may have shut down for like maybe half a year or something like that and didn't play at all. But I think once I got back to singing or what have you, I want to say I only did that without you guys maybe 3 to 5 years, guys, maybe at the max. I don't really think it went 8 years.
I'm going
I just
5,
don't.
6 side. I think I really do. I really do.
It
doesn't matter.
What was the thing that kind of stopped? What made it stop that first time?
We were all like 30 and
just
30.
Living life, man.
Yeah, man. It's just like, just the pressures of this and that. And,
and let's just be true, but Al wasn't doing right. No. Honestly, I truly think, living life. I really think, I had a lot going on back then, for sure. And I think Dave's company at that time was really thriving and doing really well. And Steve was at his high points in his career as far as his job. So at least I think so anyway. So with all that being said, I was working a day-to-day job, but at the same time, trying to be a family man and do music. I mean, I just had a lot of stress in my life. I really did. So, it was kind of one of those things. I felt like music at that point in time, I needed to kind of back off, and I was going through a divorce too. It was a lot. It was a lot. So there you go.
So what then brings you back together?
Oh, I can tell you.
Dave
go Dave.
recounts this.
Because I remember where I was standing. We work here at the house, and I was standing outside the workshop over there, and my phone rang, and it was Al. And I was like, "Hey, man." He goes, "Dude, you're still at this number." And I was like, "Man," I was like, "You know me." I said, "Unless something crazy happens, I'll be at this number till I die. So you can always find me here." I was like, "What's going on, man?" And he's like, "Man," he's like, "Are you still playing?" I said, "Yeah, of course." And he said, "Well, what about Steve? Is he still playing?" I said, "I don't know, man. I haven't talked to Steve in a while." And he said, "Well, man," it's like, "we got to do this, man. Do you want to play? Like this thing I got going on right now it's not doing it for me, man. I need to get back with you guys, something along those lines." And I was like, "Okay, wasn't expecting
I
that."
said, I want my old band back. That's what I said.
Yeah.
I said, I want
like
my
the
boys
Blues
back.
Brothers.
I want my damn band back.
Yeah.
Exactly
And
what I said.
so I said, "Well, here, man, call Steve and you know where to find me." And sure enough, he did. And before we knew it,
we had a gig. The reason Al called us is that he had a
that's
gig
right.
down at the Frist.
The Frist.
There you go.
Yes.
There you
That's
go.
what got.
That's it.
See, I remember. So he has his
it.
gig at the Frist, and when they were doing their outdoor
the
series,
Thursday night at the Frisk thing, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And the night that we were supposed to get back together, it was one of those classic Nashville spring storms where, it was 70-mile-an-hour winds and hail and tornado warnings and stuff like that. And we ended up getting moved indoors someplace, and they threw together the sound real quick and everything. And man, did we even rehearse for that?
No.
Oh no. But here's what it was. So and not to cut Steve off real quick.
I'm used to it.
So the band I had at the time, I had requests, and this ain't nothing to put no bad mojo, nothing bad about anybody. But there was certain things I had requested that I wanted to be done and be prepared for the show at the Frisk Center. And meaning like I wanted to put some of the original stuff that we had did with Steve and Dave, the true hard times. And that means that these guys, we needed to practice. So we was having issues with getting together to practice or what have you, and all of that. And the truth be told, it was like less than maybe, I don't know, maybe a week or a few days before the gig was supposed to pop off. And I got frustrated. I was really, really frustrated. So I remember I had to do a gig in Antioch at this venue. I think it was called Bailey's or something. And I remember I had to do this gig, and I did the gig. And at the point in time I was doing the gig, I looked up and I told them all that I was done. This was my last gig with them. I was fired. I was firing them all. I reached out to Dave and talked to Steve, and and they pulled me to the side. I was like, dude, what's up? And I explained it to him, man. You're not going to take me in the Frisk Center and embarrass me. It's not happening. So I couldn't get them to practice like I wanted to. And next thing, like Dave said, I reached out to him. I reached out to Steve, put the boys back together. We went in the Frisk Center and killed it. And I don't know if y'all remember this.
Oh yeah,
I was gonna say
tons and tons of people wanted to come in, man.
Yes. And what cracked me up about that gig was that, like Steve said, it was supposed to be an outdoor thing, and I figured, it'd be out on the lawn, it'd be casual, people milling around, whatever. And I hadn't gone to the event, so I didn't know how well attended it was. And these guys well know I'm not much of a rehearser. I'm always like, guys, we go do what we do. It's all good. And we never rehearse. So we hadn't played in 5 or 6 years, and we got moved inside, and they had the doors shut, and there was nobody in the room. And then they opened the doors, and the entire place filled up.
I mean, filled up, man.
Yeah,
filled up.
like really full. And I remember thinking, wow, man, okay.
Here we go.
Remember if we know how to ride this bike, and we're going to find out real fast.
So what gets so get the band back together. You start doing this again. I'm going to fast forward this because I want to be respectful of your time, but I do want to make sure we cover it. What gets you to last year and entering the IBC?
Well, I'll take that if you guys don't mind. So a year ago this month, I had a really decent corporate job, for what I do. And I was burned out, stressed out. And I told Al and Dave, I said, I remember Dave and I doing a bike ride together. I was like, man, I'm done. I need to quit. And I did. I just quit a year ago this month. And had a great job and worked with some great people, but it just, I had my time. My wife and I became empty nesters. Both of our kids are gone. And I was like, I need to devote time to music. It's my time now, a little selfish, but I quit and I started concentrating on booking the band. And because I knew we had something, we always had, I mean, for all these years, we always had something. And we played a gig. We started playing some gigs in the spring. And then Amy Frederick's cousin was on the board at the WC Handy Fest in Henderson, Kentucky. And she threw it out there. I think you guys, we could get us into the Handy Fest up there. And I mean, pursued it. I was dogging them. And ended up we got a show up there, but we had started playing a lot of gigs. I started booking us into some places in the spring, and when we went up there in June, um I remember it was mid-June last year, and we had an afternoon time slot on a Friday, played in front of maybe 6, 7,000 people, and we did what we always do. So you could put us in front of 50 people, 200 people, or thousands of people. Al walked out on that stage and owned it. The band walked out on the stage with so much confidence, played our original songs. We played a 90-minute set with 3 covers, and we just and the response we got, we sold out of all of our CDs. We lined up. There were people waiting at the merchandise booth to sign. That just gave us a boost of confidence to go in then to the IBCs. Do you guys agree that that was kind of like to me, the pivot point? Or
Yeah, that was a pivotal gig, no doubt. And after
Yeah,
that
for sure.
gig, we were chopping at stuff, but it was that gig for me in particular where I was like, okay, this is what I thought it was. This works, like Steve said, this can get bigger and bigger, and it's all good. So I was ready to go at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. I feel the same. Which honestly, even back when we did the days back at the barbecue fest and all that, man, I still felt like you guys was it. I felt like you guys had it all, man. I mean, I'm being real with you, man. But like you said, when we did the WC Handy Fest, man, it was just a total whirlwind. I mean, like to have a standing ovation, man, for a no name band to go to like Steve said and Dave says, to go to the WC Handy Fest is more or less as a no name band, and you get a standing ovation like Steve 7,000 people plus or whatever. It's just awesome, man, and that really opened the doors up, man, and we all looked at each other and be like, man, wow, we can do this ride. We can. Let's buy these tickets and get on this train, man. Let's do this.
So I remember, let's fast forward a little bit too. I remember the first IBC local, the local one. I hadn't, I'd heard of you guys before, but I hadn't met you guys yet. Hadn't really seen your live show yet until that first time you competed. Tell me a little bit about walking into that. Obviously you're kind of off this, this very pivotal thing that, all right, we can do this. But then, there was some stiff competition. There were some really good bands in that. How do you feel walking in there? I remember that was the first time I kind of talked to Al off stage. And, and there's Al off stage and there's Al on stage.
yeah.
And chatting you up before you ran out on stage. Tell me how that felt kind of going into to that and seeing the other bands.
Well, for me, how can I put this? I knew that we had something. Tommy, I didn't want to go in there and let my guys down. That's the whole thing, man. I was nervous wreck. I was excited to be there, to get the phone call saying that I was already nominated, as one of the best blues bands in the Southeast. I mean, the phone call alone spoke volume to me. And I remember saying, well, thank you, what have you. But Steve was saying, like, Al, they want you to do blah, 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 and I was like, I'm all about it. But at the same time, did I go in this thing thinking we was going to win this? No. I knew I was going to give it all I got. I knew that. I knew I was going in this thing, at least stamping my name saying, hey, I've been here. I didn't think I was going to take it. I didn't think I was going to win it. It was nothing like that. I was doing this because for the fun and for what I love to do every day. That's it, man. I didn't think it was no more, no less. I didn't try to think I was going to be big in that and all that. No, no. I was just doing what was asked of me and being Piper. That was it, man. That's straight up. Now, sorry. Go ahead, guys.
Well,
Put
no,
on the Piper suit and get busy.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you're saying, Tommy, is like, for us, it's Nashville. It's the cream of the crop, right? So the other bands and, the musicians that played, they were all phenomenal. I went to, I think, all but one of the rounds, and I was like, wow, man, if we can come out of Nashville, win the IBC challenge here and just get to Memphis, then all bets are off at that point. And we had some people that were talking to us about doing it and said, look, if you just focus on getting out of Nashville, because if you guys can get to Memphis, you have a chance, and I think they saw some of the things that we believed but you have to believe it, I mean, I think we all believed that we had the lead vocalist, we had the band, we had the songs, we had something different. At least we think we do. And, there we go.
And I remember that first night because you guys killed it and you left everything on that stage because I think you destroyed your tambourine. I still have somewhere back here one of the little tambourine things. It's like you just destroyed that thing. And I was going out on stage and I was like, what is this? And I picked it up and just put it in my pocket. And I've had it ever since.
Oh, wow, man.
Can you help me get an endorsement on the tambourine, dude?
Yeah, there's been a lot of it lately.
Yeah.
So then, you guys win it. We have the finals there at the Basement East. And I mean, that night, that was a lot going on that night, but that was a lot of talent in that room. So tell me a little bit about that night, that final night when you're up with everybody.
Well, wow. We know a lot of the players, so, it was kind of a thing, side stage there where we were just like sort of, just chatting, playing a gig kind of thing. Or at least that's kind of how I was approaching it, I didn't really give it much thought other than, we're just going to go play a gig and that's going to be whatever's going to be.
Yes, I'm sitting over there in the corner, standing over there in the corner like, oh my God, here we go. This is it.
You were a little nervous, weren't you? Yeah.
I tell you.
I saw
and Dave said what Dave said. Dude, it's just another gig, man. Come on. I saw your face. I remember when you walked on the stage at the Beast that night, and I was like, he don't look right, man. Like, that's not how he usually looks. Like, you were just a little like, here we go.
But it didn't matter. Didn't matter. You rocked it, man. As always.
So Dave, you just
you win it.
You give me the beat, baby.
Yeah. So you win the local one, and that has to feel good. Like you said, Steve, you guys, like, hey, when I go and talk to the other, blues societies, nobody has 20 entries like we have. And the level of talent, like, that it was that night, because also all the bands that were competing were so different. You had Alex, and is the kind of the ripper, the shredder and his band, and then you have like Jace has got his own thing going on. Everybody kind of had a little different thing, so it was kind of like
great,
Corey Cagilio and and Chantel and that band. You had some really great stuff going on. You guys win that, and then what does it feel like when you start thinking about Memphis? What's going through your head? How do you prepare for that?
Tommy, you're gonna laugh at me. My biggest concern was how are we paying for this? That was my biggest. That's my only concern.
Yeah,
I was like,
we talked a lot about that.
Yeah. But you pulled it out, man. You made it happen, and so I that's where I was at. And then once we got that sorted, I think I will say big props to these guys for the set list because they got that dialed in, and I think that was a lot of what helped us really was picking the right tunes, because this band, like you said, can sound like kind of a couple different things. It can sound like a blues rock band, it can sound like a funky thing, or more traditional, and so I think picking those songs was really important, and I think that helped us a lot.
So when you guys were thinking about that set list, specifically to that, because like I said, I've talked to different people who have been at the IBCs and they kind of think about, it's almost anytime like when you're getting a certification or anything where somebody looks at what you do and judges it and gives it to you, it's not about what the thing is, it's about what those people want.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what, when you sat down and looked at your body of work and you said, all right, this is what I want to take to the IBCs, what went through your mind on how to select those?
You
That goes back to you.
What's that, Al?
It goes back to you. Yeah, I said, and it goes back to you.
You arranged, I remember, Tommy, a conversation where, we had a handful of people, including Karen Leipziger, who's been helping us for several months now. And we talked to Jim Guston and Tommy Marsh and other people that have been through this before. And people just said, be careful. You got to be traditional, but yet be yourself, And so we have written enough songs over the years that we could do that. We could be, like Dave said, we could, we played some stuff that were funky, bluesy, rocky, but then we played some traditional stuff. And we just thought we're going in with our own material and tried to be true to ourselves, but yet be true to what the Blues Foundation wanted and expected, because there's heritage there and we have to respect that. And so yeah, we felt, and we also picked songs that we knew that we were playing out live for a long time, where we were getting good crowd response, and that was huge for us. I mean, it's like as much as we want to play to the judges, I feel like the three of us made sure that we were picking songs that were also going to get a crowd reaction.
Sure.
And ultimately that's who we're playing for.
Right.
I want to entertain people. Al wants to entertain people. So does Dave. And we want to go out there and just be us. And we didn't want to overthink it. And I think we came up with those songs. And I remember like throwing the set list around to Al and Dave. And I said, guys, this is what I think we should do. And this is the feedback. And I think we all settled on it pretty fast,
Yeah. And there was a thread of rehearsal, which I shut down right away.
Because thank you. That's what Martin's was for, man.
Yeah. But like, no joke, it's like, I didn't want us to be getting any kind of way weird about it. You know what I mean? And getting in our head about whatever. It's like, no, we just go do what we do. And it's either going to be what, like you said, Tommy, like what they're looking for or not, because to me, music to me is not like competition and music. They don't belong in the same sentence to me. I'm kind of weird about like with that, but I get it. It works that way a lot of the times. So like you said about the Nashville thing, it's like, well, man, how do you pick a best band? There were so many killer acts, it's like, that was just the thing that resonated with those particular judges. And so I didn't want us to overthink it. And, and most importantly, had we not won, come away thinking like, oh, well, I guess we're not as good as we thought.
Right.
Yeah, it is, it's an unfortunate downside of the challenge part of it. But I do want to talk to, a little bit of that week because, we were all down there, and I was trying to, be 25 places at once, but I wanted to make sure I saw everybody's act and saw everybody's thing. And
you were top notch, brother.
I appreciate it. I appreciate that. It's a blur.
For sure.
But
it was a blur.
I just remember watching the evolution of you guys of like that, you play 2 nights and, and they don't make any judgments for the first 2 nights. You just play 2 nights. And then I remember when we did the announcements the first time, remember we were running back and forth to where are they announcing, where are we going? And you got to the next round. So what is that? You get to the semifinals. What does that feel like?
Man,
it was cool, man. I mean, I was at that point, I was like, yeah, we need to do this. Like if we're here, we need to do this. And so I think it was validating, it was fun. It was like, okay, we're in the game now, we're in the game.
Alan, at some point in time, you said that you got into this thinking, we're going to win it, maybe not. At what point in time do you start let yourself feel, I think we could do this?
Oh my gosh. The very first performance that night that we did, when we moved on and everything, and they called my name out and everything, and I won't forget it. There was a, I was all happy and everything, and all this and that. We was congratulating each other and all this kind of stuff. And I remember there was a police officer there, and I remember the gentleman looking up at me, and he says, "Man, you guys gonna win this whole thing." And I said, "What?" He said, "Man, I'm telling you." He said, "I don't even know you." He said, "But man, I heard you." He said, "I'm telling you." He said, "From what I heard so far, you guys gonna win this whole thing." He said, "Watch what I tell you." So, it started sinking in a little bit that we could really do this. We may really have a chance, because I'm one of these guys. I know there's a lot of talent. I know. And I just kind of, like I said, just kind of stay in my lane. I just kind of sit back, let everybody do their thing, and I just kind of watch and observe. I don't try to step on people's toes. I try to give everybody the opportunity to be them. So with all that being said, I was just like, man, I hear what you're telling me. I hear, yeah, but still a little bit was saying, oh, I don't know, man. You got some true talent going on up in here. But honestly, I have to say that's when it kind of starts sinking in, like, man, maybe we can do this. And Steve kept looking at me, Al, we could do this. We could do this. And David's like, dude. And David was like, Al, we got it. Quit stressing. Like, not like we got it, but we done came this far. So don't worry about it, man. Just ride this train, man. Ride this train. So there you go.
So you get to the finals. Steve, this one's for you. So how do you change anything from that first performance going into the finals? And we're going to talk about Piper's ailment in a second. But what do you think?
I don't know if you got enough time left.
But when you think, because I remember you and I had some conversations. Everybody was kind of thinking, all right, do we do the same thing? Times are different, so you have to add a song, take away a song. What do you do? What are you thinking when you're like, all right, now it's us and six, out of 200 bands, it's us and six other bands.
Right. I think we knew what we needed to do song-wise for it. Because you can't mess around with the time. You can't go over. There's a certain time. They're very strict on the time, as everybody now knows. And I felt good about all the songs we had played. Obviously, it had gotten us that far, but I felt that the four that we picked, we all agreed which one that we wanted to drop out of the 5-song set, that we had played Wednesday and Thursday night that week. And it was funny that, like, backstage before we went on, this is so typical of Piper and the Hard Times, is we were working out a couple different endings for songs that we wanted to do on stage. And just because we play with we're so lucky to play with such great players, and Amy and Parker and Teddy. And we're just like, okay, we're going to change ending on this and change ending on this one, make sure. And Al's going to call off the number of times, we hit it at the end, which he didn't even do what we had rehearsed, but we all know to listen, and, but I don't know, man, it's just, I have so much trust and faith in these guys, to just deliver. And, I feel like we could walk in anything and just do what we do, and it's going to deliver. I don't know how else to say it. We didn't overthink it. We were just more worried about getting Al's stomach into some shape to get on stage.
So that's the thing I didn't know. I took the Saturday day off. Like, I was burnt, and I'm like, I'm going to go. And so I even went off Bill Street, and I came back, and I didn't know any of this that was going on. I just saw you guys come out and kill it and win the whole thing. But Al, you were sick the whole day.
Oh, I was worse than sick, brother. I was worse than sick. And they had to be there. I think we had to be check-in time somewhere around 11 or something like that. And I remember I remember laying across the floor and the edge of the bed somewhere around like 10:15, and my better half looking up and saying, Al, you got to get ready, honey. Please get up and get ready. And I'm just like, Amy, you got to give me a few minutes. Just please give me a few minutes. Well, we made it there on time, got there on time and everything. And it, it was just terrible, man. I mean, I was really, really feeling bad. My hands was climmy, sweating with a 3-piece suit on, and it's 14 below zero, and you up here sweating. It don't even add up, dude. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, and I could tell.
Al,
and this is what,
pardon me, roll back for a second and explain why you got sick, because
Right.
for our people listening, they won't know about the freeze and the water and the whole thing. It was a real freaky thing, man.
So the thing was, it was 14 below zero, obviously, and the pipes had busted in our particular hotel. The pipes has busted, so we was having an issue with getting water and stuff like that. So then, when the water situation got worked out or what have you, I was still drinking the water from the tap, and I was drinking hot tea. So that means I was using their water for the hot tea or what have you. And I didn't know that they had put out a boil alert. So with all that being said, what's crazy is my TV in the hotel room, the whole entire time that we was there, was on the news, constantly on the news, never changed the whole entire time. You know, I never even turned the TV off. I mean, for real. So I did not notice it was saying anything about a boil alert. Didn't know, whatever. So that's what happened. I got sick. I was drinking the water, and it should have been, supposed to have been boiled first, because of everything that was going on down there with the pipes busting and stuff like that, and across the city. So that was the situation, and I got sick really bad. We're just gonna leave it like that, man. It was horrible. It was not good, Dave. It was not good.
Well, and I can say
my morning was a phone call. It was Steve. It was about 8:30. I was still asleep, and I rolled over and hey, and I said, "What's up? What's up, man?" And he said, "Our singer's really sick." And I said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Not what I was expecting to hear today. Yeah. But he rised and shined.
Well, the thing was, I can tell you this. Just before we stepped on stage, well, Steve and I went in the bathroom and kind of tried to rehearse a little bit, kind of warm my voice up, probably about 15, 20 minutes before we hit the stage. And then after that, I went back and sat down back in the green room and hanging out there for a minute. And I remember saying, to God straight up, just in like a little prayer, like, look, help me through this. I was begging. I said, if you help me through the first song, I'll bring it home the rest. And I remember saying that there in the green room. And just before we walked up on stage, I honestly didn't know if I was going to be able to make it. I'm telling you, because I was hurting again. I really was. I was hurting again. And somehow or another, I just swallowed it down, man. And the first song kicked off, and I started the first song, and I got through it, and I was just like, okay, hey, we can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And it wasn't about winning. All I said was I can do this. I can make it through this next 25 minutes or whatever it is, let's get it done, and that's what it was. And I don't know. That's it.
Well, and you guys did it. I have seen your show now many, many times, and I couldn't have told you there was any difference from that day from the nights I had seen before. You guys brought it just like you know. So because I remember
when they called our name. Or when they called my name, dude, I ran out there like I was on freaking Price is Right, son.
I know. I've got a great video of it.
We've seen it.
The single spotlight on you, and you're like, dude, look, where's the band?
I mean, I was looking for the band. I was waiting on the band. Like, what?
We weren't going to run out after you, you fool.
I love that clip, man. Yeah, you ran out, you're fist pumping. Woo.
So you win the whole thing. Man. You're now, because this is the international one. There is no other one like this with the Blues Foundation. As far as we know, there's not another one on another planet. So you are the best up and coming blues band in the universe, known and unknown. What has that meant for you in these last couple of months, kind of coming off of that?
It has totally changed my life. I don't know about the rest of the and I didn't mean to speak up like that, but for the last couple of months, I must say my life has totally changed, man. You hear people all the time on TV, up and rising, coming stars or what have you, and you hear them say, my life changed with a light switch. How to, what have you. I used to be like, man, whatever. Listen, my life has truly changed, and I'm not talking about the fact of money flowing off trees and stuff like that. Nothing like that, man. I'm talking about the fact of the oh wow, man, just the love and the camaraderie and oh wow, man, the acknowledgement that we have been getting, and it's just overwhelming and so freaking awesome, man. I mean, it is. I tell you what, prime example. Here we are. Prime example, man. I walk in my neighborhood bank. I walk in my neighborhood bank that nobody knows me. I walk in there 2 days ago or something like that. And I go inside the bank, and as I'm leaving, this young girl this young lady stands up, looks up and says, "You're Piper, you Al Green." Now, mind you, I look up and I says, "Yeah." And she says, "It is really you." I say, "Yeah." She said, "What are you doing in here? You're a freaking superstar. What are you doing in here?" I mean, so, it's stuff like that, Tommy, I mean, and it's just keep on happening, man. I mean, dude, you can, look, I get phone calls and people walking around with my T-shirt on, man. I mean, come on, man. I mean, man, it's freaking unbelievable, man. You get a, you get a phone call, somebody says, "Dude, I'm listening to you on the radio right now, right now." Oh, man. So it's cool, man. It's cool. I'm still pinching myself, man. Wow. Yeah. It's something else, man.
Tommy, I think, for I speak for all of us, is that, what the IBCs have done and the opportunities we now have is that we get to take what we've been experiencing, in Middle Tennessee, and occasionally when we get outside of Middle Tennessee, and we get to take that around the country right now. And people get to hear and see, the band, they get to hear the music. Soon they're going to get to hear the CD when the new CD comes out this summer. And and my God, we paid, we've all talked about paying our dues, but this band has paid our dues, and
Yeah.
and we get an opportunity now, and we're driving that truck through the door, and it's opened up, and we're very thankful to be working with some just high quality A-team people in the industry like Karen Leipziger and Gina Hughes and yourself and others who have helped us. Now, just because we want it doesn't mean that all this stuff happens. We have to now work. We have to work hard at booking gigs and do the social media and, the Blues Festival guide and all these other things, record the CD. There's a lot of work yet to be done, but man, this, the doors that have opened 2 months ago, we wouldn't have been playing Telluride or the Blues Bender or going on the cruise, and all this kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
we're just incredibly grateful, unbelievably grateful.
Yeah.
So this year is the festival. So there's, some festivals that come with that, with winning. There's also, I know you guys have gotten some festivals from the, people hearing you and getting those connections. The new album, I got lucky enough to hang out with you and kind of see some of that new album being recorded. We're really excited about that. When's that new album going to come out, do you think?
We will have copies, we hope, by Handy Fest, which will be in mid-June, because we really, but as far as like the formal promotional push that we'll make, it'll probably be around August 1st is what we're targeting. So it'll be a summer release.
Gotcha. And then you mentioned Telluride, the Blues Bender, I never get the Blues Cruise name right. Is it
Legendary Blues Cruise?
Legendary Blues Cruise, because there's a couple of them.
Yeah.
What else is coming up? Others, I know you've got your kind of, you guys do a rotation in Nashville pretty regularly. Martin's Barbecue, got Papa Turney's. You just did Riverside Revival. You do Bourbon Street quite a lot as well.
Right. We've got the Heritage Blues Festival in Wheeling, West Virginia. WC Handy Fest in June. the Heritage Blues Festivals in August, and we're going to hit Pittsburgh and get a gig back in my home state of Ohio while we're heading up that way. So
There you go.
we're
and most coming up closest, we got Southeast stuff. We got the camp in Huntsville coming up. 2 weeks. And
Zero.
yeah, we got the Ground Zero, Clarksdale and Biloxi, and then also some Alabama stuff going to Birmingham,
Montgomery.
What's the other stop?
Montgomery, Capital Oyster Bar.
Montgomery.
I mean, I mean, and then Al keeps bringing this one up. Al keeps bringing up Omaha.
Omaha, yes.
Yeah, Terry.
Omaha.
Terry booked
Hey,
this.
Tommy, you see I got my hat on, baby.
I see.
I'm ready.
But everybody can find all of this, piperinthehardtimes.com, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Website. And I'll make sure we put all the links up and all of those things.
Follow us on Facebook, please.
Absolutely.
Instagram.
And I do, just to wrap this up, and just, my own personal note, because I feel like I've gotten to know you guys pretty well over this last, year. And just what it's, to me, I just like seeing good people, get good things, that you deserve it. You guys have been so gracious. You were professional the whole time, always on top of things, always, giving back, to the group and doing whatever you could do. It was very much a symbiotic relationship. So just, it just was so happy to see a well-deserved win. Couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
you, man.
Thank you, man.
And I
thank you for all the support you've shown us, man, for the nice little gifts you've done, all that. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. But I know this is going to be a big, big year. I thought it was funny when we all went to Gus's afterwards, after you won and we were eating. Yeah. And I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Parker or Teddy or somebody said, well, next year. And I was like, you don't come back next year. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you won the whole thing. You don't get to do it. Your first shot out. You won the thing. You don't come back. You go win something else. And he's like, oh, yeah.
One and done.
Yeah,
one and done.
We did, didn't we?
Yeah.
So
one and done, baby.
And also, that was the, even though there's been a blues society in Nashville forever, the the National Blues and Roots Alliance, this was our first foray into that, because, we kind of formed during the pandemic, and we had to kind of, shut down for a while. So this was our first shout out too. And so, the gift you guys have given us as well. We paved the road, but you drove that Mack truck right down it.
Right on.
And
thanks, man.
It's been so nice to even just get a little of that little spotlight shines a little bit on us. It's been great. And so
yeah, well, Tommy, I told these guys a couple times, I've said that like I really feel a huge sense of pride and accomplishment to be carrying the blues thing in Nashville, because there's been a rich R&B and blues thing here for years. It got sort of forgotten and pushed aside, and the Jefferson Street scene and all that, so to be like sort of in the line of that for Nashville, that means a lot to us. It really does. And
absolutely,
it sure does.
And your IBC win has pushed that forward. Like, it is what that's allowed us as a blues society to do is we've been able to get further. We're getting, more insight, and more people are wanting to kind of be involved in it. Because of what they've, because of you guys. So it is definitely, believe me, it has helped us out just as much.
Nice.
And we're about to open submissions for 2025. And so, it'll be really interesting to see the next group that comes through, and, and how that goes. It's a fun experience.
Well, Tommy, if there's ever anything that, this band can do to continue to grow National Blues and Roots Alliance, and mentor this new band, is because that helped us when you arranged that call, to reach out, and the three of us are going to be there for you guys.
Absolutely. I know you guys will, because you guys are great guys.
Sure.
Well, I want to, you guys have been very gracious with your time. I sure appreciate it. And this has been a long time coming. I'm glad we finally got it in there.
Yep.
But just thank you guys so much. And, thanks for keeping the blues alive.
Thanks, Tommy.
Guys,
Thanks,
this
Tommy.
is my first Zoom call ever. You hear me?
I love it.
This is my first Zoom call ever, dude. So hey, there you go.
If it had to be one, I'm glad it was us.
Yeah, for real.
Well done,
You're last, man. because I'm not a fan of these things. I'll do it for special people, but I hate doing these things, man.
Well, we appreciate it. We've been trying to get together for so long in person, and this was the easiest way to do it. But I sure appreciate you guys doing it for me.
Yeah,
and,
it's awesome.
and we'll talk to you next time.
All right.
Mad love, Tommy. Y'all take care.
See
you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, it's not his fault. Blame it on the devil. Yeah, oh Lord, let's see. It's not his fault. Ain't no way. Take what you want, but get out of the way. Pass the books, feed the fire. You got the right for all you desire. Just watch it happen, just like the weather.